Congratulations to both of you. My goodness, what extraordinary performances. And Paul, let's start with you. You read the script. What initial reaction to what you were going to have to go through?
I mean, yeah, the initial reaction is, well, does one want to go through this? And truthfully, wasn't sure because really it's about what kind of film the director wants to make and how he wants to treat the subject matter. And are we really going to explore what these people are going through, or is it just going to be used for sort of child abduction for a cheap thrill, which would not be of interest to me? So really it was about sitting down with Denis, the director, and sort of talking about the character in the film. And luckily he's a wonderful guy, and I think he had the right take on it, and I liked his previous films very much once I watched them, and so it felt like take the leap.
Yeah, take that journey, my goodness. Melissa, and for you, you know, whether you're a parent or not, you could be an uncle, an aunt, whatever it is, there's no one in the world who can't relate to this subject matter. How do you, take what you did in this role, and you have to internalize it somehow. I just wonder where you go when you take on a role in a movie like this.
It was a complicated, lonely thing, as it always is, only more so with these particular words to learn and thoughts to think and realities to connect and make it make sense, make her be a whole person, not a good person, not a bad person, but a whole and complete person who, just as every other person in the film, their circumstances have led them to where we find them in the movie. Holly is no different there. So yeah, no, there was the hard work. Paul has talked about it this morning too. Was the walking toward it. The set was just so beautiful. Denis as our guide, and having wonderful, delightful Hugh there, and he's just a great guide to be around, and you can tell quite easily when he needs a quiet time to himself or when he's ready and willing to chat with people. We had lovely conversations there on the set, and then to get to work ever so briefly with Paul was a great pleasure and honor for me, and working with Jake, a whole other kettle of fish comes into play, and all of it was just wonderful, wonderful work. So the trepidation of moving toward it was very much lost once we got to shooting.
Yeah, being a parent, oh God, really it just made it harder for me to watch this movie. But watching someone like Hugh Jackman in a role like this, knowing what such a good person and nice guy he is, and the scenes between you and him in that bathroom will never leave my mind ever in my entire life until the day I die. I mean, seriously, Paul, you did such an extraordinary job. How did the two of you get through that? And then I want to know what happened after they said cut.
So in line with part of what Melissa was talking about, I actually found that doing the scenes was sometimes a release, but preparing for them was the scary part, right? You're sort of exploring a dark subject matter, the research, whatever, you're sort of calling from yourself, this and that. So you're feeling that, but then when you get to go do it, that was the more fun part, actually, getting to actually do the scenes. Getting ready for them was the scary part. And like you said, I knew that I had a trustworthy partner in Hugh, not just because he's a good actor, but because he is a very good man. So I think that hopefully allowed us to both, do what we wanted to do in those scenes.
So what happened? Denis says cut, then what happens after you shoot those scenes?
I'm not totally sure. I think if we're doing another take, not much. I mean, there are scenes. I think we all wanted to make sure that we got the best out of the scenes, and you do want to leave it on the floor, so to speak. So in between takes, I'm not sure. Once the scene's over, hopefully you feel a release and you feel good. And I think a lot of good people on, not just the actors, but we had a good crew, and as Melissa was saying, Denis, our director, is a good guy, so it's good. You can feel good after doing it.
Yeah. I want to ask you about Denis, because a great Canadian director, such a good guy, but why was he the perfect director for this film?
It's just a decency that he has in him, and the notion that he would take the very difficult subject matter of child abduction and make a, entertainment on any level out of it. Just, you couldn't even imagine that out of him. There's other very fine directors who might well have done that with the project. And you just knew that Denis was going to go for a quality and a depth of examination that gave everyone at least a moment of grounded, real human behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Paul, how about for you? How did he help you through?
I was just recalling this, but I remember Jake and I talking about Denis. He's not good at BS. Like, he's really good at saying yes or no in an instinctual way. And I think that's also why he was able to treat the subject matter well and not just, like, want to thrill the audience or something. It's more about, okay, this is true to what the character is going through or it's not. So I think he had good instincts, not a good liar, which I think is important. But I think seeing his other films, you have to give yourself over to it. So, and the director is the final author of the film. So, just you got to put your trust in it and go for it, and you collaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You both make such amazing choices in the roles that you take. My goodness, you just keep upping yourselves in each role. It's unbelievable. But for you, I'll start with you, Melissa. What is it when you get a script now and you look at it and you go, is it the script? Is it the director? Like, what kind of gravitates you towards something now?
It tends to be scheduling more than anything else.
Okay, fair enough.
If I could do it, I'll be happy to.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
I'm not sure. I know that hopefully there's at least some sort of I feel like still the biggest goal is to become a better actor, frankly. So it's like, what challenges? I want to be kind of scared of the project. Otherwise I feel not good.
And therein lies the difference between the male actor and the female actor.
Well, you have another film in the festival, 12 Years a Slave, which unfortunately I haven't had a chance to see it, but what was it about that one? Because I've just been reading up about it, and that's pretty intense, too.
Yeah. Well, like, really beautiful story. Just a beautiful story, and really good filmmaker. Good group of people as well. That one's not for the meek either.
Yeah.
But I think it's very good.
Yeah. When you look back at your work and stuff, can you think about the career, the role that just flipped your life around?
No. 30-some years ago, I was on a soap opera. I was nominated for an Emmy. And since that moment 30 years ago, there's been peaks and valleys again and again, and I wouldn't trade a single of the higher or lower moments.
Good. No, good. You give us great stuff. And Paul, for you, the role that changed your life?
Honestly, probably the first film I ever did. I was doing theater in high school in New York, and I thought I wanted to be an actor, and I definitely thought it meant being on stage in New York, where I grew up, and I did an independent film, and all of a sudden I really liked what that experience was. So that was called LIE, and that was probably, for me, on a personal level, yeah.